This is a very powerful tactic. My favorite. I love doing pins. My chess kid friends saying chess kid because this lesson probably aim at beginners and novices. The intermediates can verify if the knowledge is at the right place. Anyway, everyone is welcome, guys. Watch this video, share it with your friends, family, uh, and enjoy it. About a pin now. My favorite tactic because it's a conditioning move. It conditions your opponent. Of course, the pins could be relative or absolute, and we're going to be looking at examples. For instance, a pin is when a piece can't move because behind them is either the king, like in this situation here, you can notice the knight on b5 can't move because the bishop would check the king. So we call this an absolute pin, my friends. Okay. And also an absolute pin is if you're looking at the f7 rook, it cannot move because the queen would check the black king again. The bishop on h3 is not absolutely pinned. They can still move, but of course, technically they can play. The problem being that if they move, there is a very valuable piece, the black queen behind, and that would be captured by the rook. Just to giving you guys a flavor for this. So let's just proceed now. As you could see, that's how you are capturing with check, and of course just to understanding what's a relative and an absolute pin, my friends. Cool stuff. Let me see if we're actually having the board. Yeah, okay, cool. I was a little bit concerned that pieces do not show up, but they do. Now, rather than rushing into capturing the rook with the bishop, right? So you would say, oh, I'll take the rook, right? Because the bishop is 3 points and the rook is 5, and I'll just go take it. Hold your horses. Always, try to give it a bit more time, extra time to thinking, can I perhaps capture with another piece? Because you take with a bishop, but you might end up very well in a draw. Whereas if you push a pawn, you're actually going to capture the rook with a less valuable piece, and actually you're putting pressure on the pin piece. That's another concept, my friends, adding pressure on a already pin piece here. And whatever black plays, the rook will be captured. Another subtlety, though, it's not finished. You can win this if you do the capture with the right piece. So now, rather than taking with the bishop, which will be replied with f6, and then you got an issue because they're challenging your pawn. Remember, if you're actually losing this pawn, it's going to be a draw. You're not going to lose, but once you take the pawn on f6, so to speak, king will capture your guy here. And yeah, well, that's about it. So let's take the rook with the pawn. King gets in front of it, and now you're marching on with the king, and you have all the time in the world. Sometimes it is also important to understand the value of playing a waiting move. You can afford the luxury to playing a waiting move because the black king can't move away from the pawn because you're going to be pushing and promoting. So you can afford to drop the bishop back a little bit and back with the bishop because black needs to decide. They push the f5, you're going to play king f4. And after king to f7, you're going to push this guy eventually. And they do have an issue. So they chose to stopping your pawn from advancing. I'm going to play my king, attacking now the black pawn on f6, and there is nothing good for black here. You are going to be winning, checking the king, controlling the promotion square. The king needs to step aside now, and the guarantee, it is a guarantee, you are going to take the queen because you move with check, and then bishop supports the promotion square. So that is definitely guaranteed queen to be on the board there. Now, we have this position already pinning the knight on f3 to the queen. You probably noticed this, guys. You just need to remember, how do I add more pressure to the pin piece? And you've got it right. It's the pawn, attacks the knight. If knight moves, queen gonna get captured. And now you say, yeah, but what about h3? Yeah, of course they could do h3, but you capture first with a direct threat on the queen. So you're gonna take now on f3, attacking the queen. They can't ignore it, and after bishop takes, you're going to take on h3 now. Rather than trading and simplifying, you get more power, claiming also the light squares, g2 around the white king, and you attack the rook on f1 as well with tempo. That's good stuff. The next exercise that we want to look at, guys, here, we notice there is the bishop on b2 perfectly placed along this diagonal to g7, attacking the black king. Is just great here. Now, rather than doing something reckless here, we need to look at a safe way to check the black king. There is a very safe check, and I'm not talking about queen d2 to queen d8 because knight's going to take you. I'm talking about queen captures h6. The pawn is pinned. We are looking at the same theme. Queen h6 checks the king. They have to move on g8, and when they move on g8, you just simply deliver checkmate in a move. Queen captures g7. Beautiful battery. Checkmate, guys, right then and there. This one here, it is indeed pinned, the knight on f3, right? You can say, oh, my opponent played the pin. But if you're not in an absolute pin, if it's a relative pin, you might be able to play some beautiful tactics. For instance, don't be shy to look at things like bishop takes f7, right? Don't be shy to looking at this, because if bishop takes f7 and king takes, you always have available the beautiful knight to g5. So bishop takes, king captures. Now you're going to play something we say with tempo, forcing the king to move. They can't block because checks from the knight can never be blocked. King has to move, and then you take the stuff back that you've given, but with tempo, with interest, because black king will not be able to castle. I hope you guys remember, if the king moved from the initial square, they can't be castled, even if you put them back where they were. So now you're going to take your material back, and you are going to be winning from a positional point of view here, and tactically, and you're doing incredibly well, okay? The light squares are weakened. You have a tremendous powerful threats coming over. The f7, of course, queen 2, f5, and you're attacking f7 and stuff, and you could fork, and there are so much good things happening here, guys. Let's look at perhaps the last scenario here, my friends. I'm going to play something called the Filor Defense. A bit passive, maybe not the most ambitious way to defend here with black, but just wanted to give an example on terms of a pin, a relative pin, and how things can quickly turn into your advantage. So d6 clearly opening up the bishop's diagonal, right? But knight c3, h6, again, excessively prudent. They just try to play you, they try to stop you playing something on g5 later on after you push the d file, but they lost sight that after bishop c4, a move like bishop g4 already is a big blunder, absolute blunder, because here you would say, oh, I can't move my knight, I'm in a pin, right? That's what I would just say. But after you take the knight with the knight on e5 here, you notice that actually that means very many things. The knight and the queen attack the bishop, but more importantly, the knight and the bishop on c4 attack on f7. That's a big stuff. And if they're getting greedy and they jubilating, oh, I took the guy's queen, they didn't know what they were playing. You're actually having checkmate in 2 moves here, guys. You continue with bishop takes on f7, check, forced. Black is forced to play e7, and now you deliver the goods with the crushing knight to d5, check, and mate. And that's how you take advantage in that Filor defense. It's good to know it. You know, you're playing with white, you're playing this kind of stuff. And I think it's important to know in case you're playing someone that hasn't prepared this line. Thanks for watching, my chess friends, my chess kids. Thanks for watching this, guys. And see you at the summer camp. All right. Thank you.